right. Do not exercise that right to remain silent in your marriage. Okay. You have the right to remain silent in your marriage, but that doesn't mean that you should exercise that right. It has been said that one of the most troubling problems in any marriage is communication. I would respectfully offer for your consideration that it's really not communication that tears our marriages apart. It's silence. It's all the things that we don't know how to say. In our marriages, we have the right to remain silent because anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of marriage. Remember when you said after our second date that you would never do me like this if we got married? We don't get silent because we don't believe that we can speak. We're silent because we don't trust that there is an environment that can handle what we have to say. And yet, silence has the ability to create division in our marriages. If your spouse is still speaking to you, then there's a lot of hope. If they're still able to express their issues and their emotions, then things are going well. It's when they stop speaking and all they say is good morning and good night. That's when trouble is amiss. You see, it's not that we don't always have the words, it's just how do you express that I lost my hope, I lost my passion? How do you find the words to say that hurt me more than I let on? How do you find the words to say, when you married me, you think you got a full man, but there's a broken little boy down on the inside of me? How do we say that when you said that I heard my father speaking? It's the silence that creates division in our marriages. And so our task, my assignment for today is to encourage you to fill in the silence. I'm going to be using Luke 1:57. I love this text because it tells us so much about God's plan in bringing in John and Jesus into the world. But for the first time when studying it for the sake after them. Every now and then you've got to go back to the drawing board and say, God, what is the vision for my marriage now? At first it was one thing 10 years ago, but now we're 10 years down the road and I need to know what the vision is now. Because what if God is doing a new thing in your marriage, but you're still functioning off of the old plans? You did not just come here for a conference. You came here because God is getting ready to give you new vision for your marriage, new passion, new purpose, new promise, and he's only going to give it to the people who are willing to lay down what they knew about who their spouse was, to lay down what they knew about who they were, and say, God, what are you doing now? I'm not married to the same man I used to be married to. I'm not married to the same woman I used to be married to. And God, I want to know how I can serve them now. I need a new vision for my marriage. It's not just as simple as being understood. It's not just as simple as I need fidelity or we need more money. No, God, I need a new vision for my marriage. I need to understand the kind of parents we're going to be. I need to understand how we interact with my family. I need a new vision for my marriage. How do we love after this pain? How do we love with the children here? I'm functioning off of this old vision and I'm wondering why it's not working. I hear God saying that there's nothing wrong with your spouse. There's nothing wrong with your relationship. There's something wrong with the vision. But God says this is 2020. This is the year of perfect vision, and that he will give you a vision for your marriage that will see you through the next decade. I feel like prophesying in this place, and it is a Saturday morning, and ain't nobody got time for that. But if I could just prophesy for a minute, I would say that God has a vision for you and your husband, you and your wife, to be a power couple. That is not just a power couple that can show up when the lights are on, but a power couple that can show up in their own bedrooms in the middle of the night, that can go to war for their families, that can get down on their knees and start praying, saying, not my child. I'm tired of hearing about praying mothers only. I'm tired of hearing about praying fathers only. I believe in the power of marriage. I believe in the power of unity. And I believe that when we get together, when two of us are gathered in his name, that he will sit down in the midst, and that we will chase every devil out of our household, and we will chase every disease out of our marriage. I don't know about you, but I didn't get married just because he was fun. I got married because we make hell nervous. I got married because I got a vision for what we could do in the earth. I got married because I believe me and him are unstoppable. So you need a rider. Let me get gangster with it for a minute. You need to marry a rider. You need to marry somebody who will go down into hell with you and take back everything the devil stole from you. I got a vision for my marriage. I got a generational curse to break. I got a generational curse to break. I got a statistics to prove wrong. I'm not doing what's always been done. There's a vision for my marriage. What God does for Elizabeth and Zacharias is he breaks up their routine. Because your marriage could die by routine. Your marriage could die by routine. So he shakes things up. And he gives them a promise to produce a seed. But he makes him silent. Zacharias was supposed to go home and turn on Luther Vandross. He was supposed to tell Elizabeth, we've been waiting all this time, and God's about to download something in here tonight. But he can't speak. He can't show up the way that he would normally show up in this instance. And so now he has to explain how he became broken. And he has to explain how he became silent while recognizing that he still has a promise hanging over his head. See, God's not like us. When Zacharias didn't believe, he didn't take the promise from him. He just made him change the way that he functions so that it forced him to be vulnerable instead of using all of the techniques he's used to. When God gives you a new vision for your marriage, you can't use your old tricks. You got to be willing to be vulnerable and find a new way to communicate. There's a vision for your marriage that you're whole. There's a vision for your marriage that you have trust. There's a vision for your marriage that you don't have to choose between the spouse and purpose, that God will make it all work together. But you can't use your old tricks. You got to become vulnerable to a new way of functioning. And so now Zacharias has to learn to communicate in a different way. Some of us, with this new vision, are going to have to learn a new language. Did you know that